The following video is a DANOBAT model RU3500 universal cylindrical grinder. It is 20-inch by 138-inch center to center. Serial number of the unit is 163-440-817. The machine is new 1981. We have the covers open to show the ways for the video. Workhead. The overhead dresser.
Alright, so we're going to start this machine up so we can do a demonstration of how it's working. Obviously it looks beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and start the hydraulic unit. Grinding wheel. So I can start the table traversing back and forth. Just for the video, we're going to just travel a short distance. So you have a control here. I control the speed. Slow this down or speed it up. This is for the tary on your left and your right, depending on which way you turn it. And this is the table on and off. Start, stop. There's also a lock, so you can lock it off so that it can't accidentally be turned on if you're doing some kind of a critical plunge grind. This is the longitudinal hand wheel. You have to push this in to engage the clutch and have the hydraulics turned off, and you can move the table by hand if you need to. Below here is a dial that you use to set the point where the coarse feed stops and the fine feed begins. This is a grinding mode selector switch. At the top position, it shows the symbol for plunge grinding. At the 6 o'clock position, or if I was to turn this to the top, which is where the setting actually is, right now the machine is in longitudinal or traverse grinding with increments on both the left and the right side of the shaft. Here, the increment would come only on the workhead side, and here the incremental infeed would only come on the tailstock side. And again here, our infeed would be on both sides. So I'll start up the table. Well, the first thing I want to show you is that start the table. Now our wheel slide is in the rear position. It has a rapid approach into the workpiece. And then as this machine, the outer hand wheel stays stationary because of this worm device here, but you'll see the internal gear each time the table reverses. I'm just going to flip the lever by hand here, that we feed. Now the amount of that feed is controlled by these control knobs on the right side here, the top one being your first feed or your coarse feed, and the second one being the fine feed. And along with this dial down here, you adjust when the fine feed begins and the coarse feed stops. This here, when engaged, is a solid stop, a dead stop if you're grinding by hand. In the automatic mode, you don't use the hand stop because the machine just feeds out to a positive stop internal to the machine. Okay, on the top here is a dial which can be used to make fine adjustments. You can see as I turn this, we're actually moving this a little bit here. This is also part of the dress compensation. This is automatically moved like I just did each time the grinding wheel is dressed by the above the wheel dresser. So over here we have our box that we have for starting the hydraulic, starting the workhead, starting the grinding wheel, starting the wheel dressing cycle, and whether or not you want your headstock to come on automatically with the cycle or turn it on continuously if you're doing some kind of setup. Same with the coolant. So a full automatic cycle, you would have it in the automatic position. Over here is another grinding mode. If you put it in the center, when the machine comes down to 0, it will just stay there. There's no timing and automatic retraction. In this position there is timing and automatic retraction. This final symbol here is if you have something like a Hauppauge or Movomatic or control gauging, in-process gauge, which this machine currently doesn't have. This switch you'll notice here, when this switch is made, that is when your machine will kick out at the end of the cycle, so that it doesn't kick out if the time is up in the center of your part. You want to always be at the end of your reversal, so you have a special sliding dog here that when the time is up, that'll cause the machine to kick out. I can show you a full cycle in the plunge grinding mode because it's much quicker. So let's turn on selector switch, a grinding mode selector switch, so that the single grinding wheel or the plunge symbol is at 12 o'clock. Now, provided everything is set up, which you do all that by hand, your first few test parts, you come in now, and you see that we're feeding here. We're feeding it first at a coarse feed rate, which I can slow down with this knob here, or completely stop, and then open it up again. And then the next feed will be the fine feed. And that will continue down to 0. The 0 is only here as a reference. It's not the real 0. It stops feeding when the cylinder, the piston inside the mechanism reaches its dead stop. All right, so what's the machine waiting for? It's waiting for the signal from this switch. This should be slid over to here, so as soon as I press this, our head's going to go back. So that would be a full plunge grinding cycle. We'll do it one more time. See, we start to feed down at the fast or coarse feed rate. All the while our wheel is feeding in, and then we go into the fine feed rate. And we come down to 0, and provided that this dog here is mounted in the right spot, when the time is up, there's this timer with a knob on the side of the cabinet, the electrical box that you adjust for your time. Then everything goes back and this resets. Now if you want to dress the wheel with the automatic wheel dresser, the cycle has to be completed and the wheel has to be back. If you go ahead and press the button when it's not back, it'll automatically go back. So I want you to notice on the top here, we have a knob that we can adjust the speed of the diamond. We have a knob to feed in the diamond, and then some electric switches to tell it the width of the wheel basically, and when to come back and when to go. So let's watch this. And at the same time, you're going to see a compensation happen here automatically. So I'm going to go ahead and start the dress cycle. If we watch here, we'll see us going across the wheel. It happens pretty quick. Now we'll concentrate on the grinding wheel itself, in-feed hand wheel. I'm going to press the thing. Our diamond's going across now. And right there, that little compensation is how it compensates. Again, if you want to see that, I have it moving fairly quickly right now because we're not really dressing the wheel. But it lifts itself up, it goes across the wheel, it gets to the end, it lifts itself back up, and then it comes back to a hold position. Moving down, this is is the compensation clutch. There's an actual clutch in that hand wheel that, as long as that clutch is on, you really cannot rotate that. So if you're going to rotate that hand wheel by hand, you have to shut that clutch off. Over here we have the Workhead. This is a live spindle arrangement, and looks pretty heavy. Here they tell you some of the RPMs. It can go from, I guess, 1 RPM all the way up to 140 RPMs. Of course, this has a electronic drive on it today. It's a Telemechanics that we have over here. And you dial in the RPM, the specific RPM that you want to go, and set it in the drive there, and that's what it'll do. Your tailstock here is big, beefy, heavy-duty tailstock. You have to crank this in to move the quill in and out because it's designed for large, heavy workpieces. They don't normally have any type of a lever on. You see your lubrication happening down here. This is all adjustable. There's a block in the back, a manifold where you can raise and lower this. And you've got a dial indicator here for your table taper adjustment. You loosen up these screws. And there's a worm gear in here, and this will adjust the taper on the table. There's a plug here that you could put in 3 different spots so that you can reach the maximum amounts of taper. So there you have it. That's the DANOBAT. Thank you very much.
Again, the following video was a DANOBAT model RU3500 universal cylindrical grinder. The serial number of the unit is 163-440-817. It is 20 inch by 138 inch center to center. The machine is new, 1981.